In der zentralen Position, nur Schwarze hat er noch vor sich, dann ist es Fjortoft, er ist im Strafraum und der Tor! Tor! Für die Frankfurter Eintracht, 5:1.
Hi and welcome to the German Fußball podcast. I'm your host, Markus Fjortoft, and as always joined by Dad, who for the second week running finds himself in a car. And for people not watching this on video, he's got some rather nice brown leather seats as a backdrop. Dad, where have you been? Where are you currently? I don't know if you even can answer that. And where are you headed?
I have no idea where I am at the moment. I am in Germany, but on my way to Austria. I got to do the Champions League night. As we know, it's a very exciting. Well, there are some Germans around me wishing for a miracle if they can turn around against Manchester City. And as you were saying, I have an unbelievable car. I have said all along my career that all cars, all football shoes, going to be German. And as I was picking up my rental car, which I need for these days when I'm traveling Europe in the European week, they gave me this big BMW. So I feel good. I think that we are 5 members in our family, Marcus, and you know the 3 others, all women interested in cars, and me and you not so much. I remember when you played up in Hamilton at the time in Scotland, you have the smallest car I've ever seen a 6'5" will ever have. And I remember you told me that the captain, when you were driving into the stadium for training, he just looked at you coming with his car and said, "Marcus, you don't give a fuck, do you?" And I guess that sums up our relationship to cars. But then again, I like a good car, nice car. So, but you were more interested to talk about what you did the last day. You were in Swindon.
Yeah, well, it's very flattering that you say it's more interesting, but it has a special connotation. The fact that I get to go back to Swindon, where you had a fantastic time, obviously scoring a lot of goals when they were in the Premier League. But you know, I was born there. We've always had a special relationship to it, and so I was able to be co-commentary for the 3rd time for Swindon against Bradford. Mark Hughes on the other side for Bradford, and I'll always remember you telling me that growing up, you said, "I am the 2nd best volley kicker in the world. There's only one better than me, and that's Mark Hughes."
He was unbelievable. But I'm thinking back at the season we were in the Premier League. We played 2-2. I scored a goal in that game. Luke Nyholt got the other one for us. I wonder if he scored, or maybe it was for Paul Ince. But Mark Hughes, one of the best strikers around, and now in Bradford trying to get out of that League 2, which is a tough league, like all the other leagues in England to get out of. So now I'm so pleased that you are doing your what are we going to say? Your learning process, your education in media, as we do try to do here. But let's go back to Germany, and I guess you want to start on Dortmund, Marcus, won't you?
Yeah, well, I thought, you know, looking at this past weekend, and I don't think I'm alone when I say that we were frustrated by the developments of this past weekend, because Bayern slipped up, not been convincing even when Tuchel took over from Nagelsmann, nor is there perhaps a quick fix. And we've touched upon that in the previous episode about accountability being extended upwards in the Bayern hierarchy. But for Dortmund, Dad, for them to be 2-0 up, and yes, well, Stotterbeck, Süle, Emre Can was filling it as center back, but 2-0 up against a 10-man Stuttgart who are fighting for their lives to avoid the relegation, find themselves 2-0 up. Stuttgart claw back to 2-2. Then Reina gets one in the 93rd minute, and still it's not enough, and Stuttgart get their 3rd and the equalizer. You know, we always say typical Dortmund, right? And but it is one of those where when they finally could have drawn even in the table with Bayern, they're able to slip up to that degree, and it does invite a few questions. And you know, the character of the team, the captain, the manager. But where do we start in this discussion, this analysis?
Well, I think it's a good start with a typical Dortmund tag, because that doesn't mean that is a good thing. We can say typical Bayern. Typical Bayern will be when they are struggling like they are now. They go into Mainz on Saturday in the next away game, and everybody expect them to slip up even more, they will probably win 4-0. And Thomas Müller will get 2 goals, 1 fantastic goal and 1 in his back head doing the second. That is typical Bayern. Typical Dortmund is to slip up. And the last 10 years, when I think that is a part of it, because Bayern Munich have won it the last 10 years. I remember the days when I worked in Germany, when I came in and worked with the Topspiel, they won it 2 in a row with Jürgen Klopp. They had a great football team. It's a fantastic club, Dortmund, a club that you know, Markus. My club in Germany is, of course, Eintracht Frankfurt, where I played. But I've always been a big fan of Dortmund too, because a wonderful stadium. That was the first stadium I played when I made my debut in German Bundesliga with Eintracht Frankfurt. I followed them through Champions League. I followed them through Erling Haaland's breakthrough in Germany. So I love them. In many ways, but this thing that they are doing, they're slipping up, and it's not even breaking news that they are doing that. I remember back with Werder Bremen, they had the same kind of game. They went to Bayern in the Topspiel there. They were 4-0 down, and at the end they were like having a bit make up on the result, getting 4-2 at the end. But it's not only that this mental thing; it's also a quality thing, Markus. Because if you look at I had a day off, had to help your mom cleaning up the house. So you, again, the two of us, we don't want to throw anything away. She wants to throw everything away. So I was kind of follow all games like you do on my phone, the TV was on and on the live update. So I follow, of course, Germany, and I couldn't believe. Okay, 2-0 up. I was kind of neutral to the game. They're 2-0 up in Stuttgart. Well done. Putting Bayern under pressure. Wow, Hoffenheim equalized against Bayern. It's 1-1. Wow, we can have excitement in the German Bundesliga. And then out doing Labbit stuff outside in the garden, coming back, and it's 2-2. And I was thinking, really? Are they really against the 10-men Stuttgart 2-2? Like you saying, fighting. It's a weaker team, although their form is quite good, that they are 2-2. And then 3-2, Rainer came on, scored a 3-2. And I was thinking, wow, this is fantastic. Shows some mentality, shows that Terzić has taken it to another step. They can come back from a terrible situation and make it 3-2. And then at the last kick of the game, they're 3-3. And if you have a look at the goal markers, at 3-2, there are 4 or 5 players pressurizing a 10-man Stuttgart, and it's 1 minute to go. I mean, I didn't want to say they were stupid, but I heard Terzić in the press conference after the game. He said they were stupid. So then we have the mandate to call them stupid. And the way they concede that goal is just like unbelievable. But before, Markus, I go on with my rant and my analysis of Dortmund. We should listen to what the Roman Weidenfeller, the legendary man who was a part of the winning DNA of Dortmund, told me yesterday when we were together on a TV show in Germany.
I'm with the Dortmund legend, Roman Weidenfeller. When I started in Germany as a reporter, they were winning the championship for fun. Now they don't want to win the championship. Roman, what's wrong with Dortmund?
Yeah, we do a lot of mistakes. So, especially in the last weekend, it was one of the baddest games in the last months. But just now we have to looking forward, and I hope so. We made our job well against Eintracht Frankfurt.
Well, talking about Frankfurt, I will love you not to start to win football games, but Roman, there is always a discussion with Dortmund when the goings get tough. When they're nearly there, they were 3-2 up, and then 5 minutes later, the 97th minute, they lose the game. Is that a mentality thing, or is it lack of quality?
I think the guys was a little bit sleeping too early, so better they slept 5 minutes later. But in this moment they can't sleep, and this is a big problem just now in Dortmund.
It's very exciting also here in Germany. I mean, they could be on the equal points. Now they are 2 points behind. But as we are saying, Bayern Munich will play away in Leipzig, and they're not in the best form either. Do you still think that Dortmund can win the league?
Just now they have the best chance to win the championship, but hopefully we will do it in the next weeks.
Roman, I will hope that Dortmund win a lot of games, but not this first game against Eintracht Frankfurt. Thank you very much.
Of course, we need the points.
Yes, that was yourself and Roman Weidenfeller looking very fresh. That with the makeup from the studio there,
Yeah,
very nice.
I couldn't keep it on for today. Sitting in a car without makeup.
Yeah, it would have been yeah. I think there's a lot to do with context here if you went like that in public. But yeah, still says that Dortmund are very much in it. But that I would like to identify a couple roles or different types. So there's talk about Marco Reus's contract now being extended or not, and murmurs about how this game would kind of negatively affect that in a way. But I'm wondering whether is there a certain type, a leader, where Bayern have a Thomas Müller, where Dortmund don't have that. And Marco Reus is a fantastically talented player, but there have been incidents in which his character has been questioned. And then you can also extend it to, you know, Edin Terzić compared to Marco Reus last season, and whether they're doing that much better this season. There was a lot of talk going into this season about how he's created this fantastic collective and, you know, he has that Dortmund DNA. But is there a certain type missing? And is Edin Terzić coming away a bit too lightly in terms of how Dortmund have performed overall this season? Because when we had Rafa Honigstein on, he said it wasn't so much perhaps Dortmund's performance, even though they started the second half of the season very strongly, but more so Bayern being so poor. How do you see that?
Yeah, well, of course, there are two ways to have a look at that. They took 10 points of Bayern, which is a fantastic performance coming back in 2023 when they started off the Rückrunde, the second part of the season. I think one of the problem is, well, that they're using Marco Reus now is kind of typical, because you need something to hang it on. You need, yes, Koulibaly did a terrible mistake on the goal, but then they said, yeah, the pressure of Reus beforehand. But my God, when did Reus be a intensive pressing player? That was never his game. So I think it's more general, Marcus. You have Emre Can, you have Mats Hummels, you have Marco Reus, who kind of maybe are not the leaders you kind of need in those kind of situations. You leaders need to be the best players on the pitch. Basically, you have to define them. Not always being the best players in terms of being the most spectacular players, but you expect them to not be a weaken to the team. And it's been a rule the last years that Dortmund, when the goings get tough, there is a lot of the same players going under. The mentality in the team it's a bit the same. But like I said, I would like it also put it on quality, because, and then I will put him Edin Terzić, because if you see the last minutes, if you get 3-2 in the 93rd minute, you know it's 3-4 minutes to go, then you have to make sure. What would a Pep Guardiola, I will use Pep Guardiola as an example. What would he do? Would he have celebrated? No. Would he have taken a team meeting more or less on the pitch? Of course he would. He would kind of drag out players. You see that from Pep Guardiola, other coaches as well, but I use him because he is the extreme other version of that kind of leadership. He will take players out and he will say, they have 10 man. The only thing they can do now is to let they have the chance to put their long ball up, and we just have to win the duels. That's the only thing that they can harm us now. So then you play for 3 minutes, and they're playing out from the back, and there are 4 Dortmund players running around like headless chicken, and so they can play through these 4 people to the most open space you've ever seen in a Bundesliga. They play the ball and ball outright, the cross in, Koulibaly, yes, it's a big mistake by the 19-year-old, that could happen, and then in the 97th, on the last kick of the game, more or less, they equalize, and that is nothing to do with winning the title. The good thing about this is that they can win the title. There's the first game now on Saturday. They're playing Eintracht Frankfurt. Of course, I would love them to lose that game, but having seen Frankfurt lately, they haven't won in 7. They got a 1-1 against Borussia Mönchengladbach. Muani scoring again. Muani getting hotter and hotter for Bayern Munich. That is desperate to get a striker. So they play Frankfurt. and Bayern playing away against Bo Svensson's Mainz. So that could happen. There are 6 games to go. Dortmund got a middle of the road hard program. Bayern got to go to Reus in Leipzig. Can you imagine if the fired manager of Dortmund from last season will make Dortmund champions? So that's the good news. Sebastian Kehl in the German press yesterday went out and said, yes, we can win the league. I think that was the way to try to turn this around to a offense and the offensive way of thinking, positive way of thinking. Edin Terzić, for those of you who haven't heard the press conference he had after the game, it was in German, but still very emotional, said, I'm so sorry, I have to expect more from the players. But there is a niggling feeling that Edin Terzić is a bit too softish for this team. I'm not saying we should go back to the times of Felix Magath, my friend Felix Magath. He would have never have done that kind of speak. Maybe that was good when he was saving Hertha Berlin. By the way, Marcus, you saw that Dardai is back as Hertha Berlin.
I wanted to mention that as well. And I was and surely Magath must have been an option, Dad, but they brought Darmai back, who's is now going on to his 3rd stint with Hertha Berlin. 256 Hertha Berlin appearances, led them to mid-table finishes, which by all accounts Hertha Berlin would love to have right now. But yeah, a short little comment on the Hertha Berlin situation.
Yeah, I just wanted to finish Dortmund. So I will just finish with Terzić. Will the difference between him and the other coaches is he has still got a full support of Watzke, for Matthias Sammer, Sebastian Kehl, which all 3 of them have to ask themselves, what have they done wrong? Because this culture is something that's been in Dortmund for the last 10 years. And a load of these people and the players on the pitch haven't been there for 10 years. So that is Dortmund. Hopefully they will not win on Saturday when they play Eintracht Frankfurt. But for the excitement, for the neutral fans, it's a good game. Yes, Hertha Berlin is doing the same thing as they did last season. They get a Feuerwehrmann, a fireman that will come in and try to save the season. Dardai has been there for ages. I played against Dardai. He's my kind of age. He's got his son there, more or less so many sons of his running around in there. But it's going to be tough. They are playing Werder Bremen at home. This is a key game for them. And then they play Bayern away. So they have 2 easy games now at the beginning. If you ask Hoffenheim, who kind of managed a 1-1 there. By the way, Hoffenheim as well need a mention, Marcus, when our friend German, Italian, American, help me with the name, Matarazzo. Yes, started very bad.
Yeah,
stayed positive, but now they got a good run. I think they got 5 points down now to the relegation battle. But Dade, I read an interview with him today. We are taping this on a Wednesday. I read this and he said that it's all about being realistic. It's all about get the boys and all the kind of thing that you need to take out positive. And that's what Matarazzo did at Hoffenheim. Even when they were losing, he said there's something to build on. They lost in Dortmund, I think 1-0, and he still said, well, there is something you can build on. Never got to panic, and now they got got a chance. And some rumors in Germany that Hoffenheim is going to be sold, which is quite interesting. First of all, it's interesting because a German football group can't be sold, as we know. So I don't want to put me into that business because, you got a 50+1 rule here. That was a rumor that I've heard. It's always good when I'm in Germany, Marcus, because I speak to so many people, both physically and I speak to a lot of people to prepare all the shows that I'm part of. So it's a good time. But unfortunately, a lot of the news that I'm coming is that I don't tell anyone. So
we have got some big announcements perhaps coming out of that, and we will obviously be the first.
We'll see. We'll find a way.
But little tease there. I guess coming towards the end here, we cannot mention the Bundesliga. We cannot do a summary, so to speak, without mentioning Bayern. Without going too much into tonight's game, in which people might hear tomorrow, just to contextualize the situation around Bayern now, with obviously Tuchel coming in and replacing Nagelsmann. But then there's been that team bust up between Leroy Sané and Sadio Mané, and Mané got a record fine, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dad, it was 350,000 euros fine for the bust up. What is being said? Is it, you've been in plenty of changing rooms in which I'm sure there were a lot of those confrontations. Is it being drawn, is it out of proportion, so to speak? Is this something that regularly happens, but just because it's Bayern? How do you see that?
Well, battles between players happen, but fortunately enough, I've not seen so many times that people are knocking each other down. And you could see on Leroy Sané that his lips was swollen. So this is after the Manchester City game. There were things said on the pitch, and after the game, the battle kind of continued in the dressing room, and Sadio Mané punched Leroy Sané. It is underlined in all the press that it was nothing racial, because there was a rumor, there was some spin that it was racial. I played with Leroy Sané's father, Sané, who played for Wattenscheid. He was a great striker as well. He went out and said this is nothing to do with that, just to put that down where it goes. I think there is a many different aspect to this, Marcus. Is it taken out of proportion? If Sadio Mané was scoring 2 goals a game, I think that will be kept down. He was a record signing for them. He was the guy who was going to replace Robert Lewandowski. He was celebrated as a great signing. But what I didn't like is that there was some spinning that Sadio Mané was also a problem at Liverpool Football Club. And I talked to my friends at Liverpool, and they said they've never heard of that. I mean, and that was my experience as well. The kindest player you can interview, was always smiling. His background, if you don't know his background, how he became a professional footballer, is fantastic. He's doing a fantastic charity job in his home Senegal. And so, but there is no, I don't say there's no forgiveness, I'm not saying that, but there's no excuse for knocking down your own teammate. And I think Bayern had to react, as you were saying, 350,000 euro. Apparently the record was 50,000 euro. That was Frank Ribéry, who had a go at Arjen Robben after they were fighting on a free kick, and then they kept going in the dressing room again. So Sadio Mané, as we are talking, Marcus, we don't know the starting lineup against Manchester City. Maybe starting on the bench, but I think that Bayern has been handling this quite well. Thomas Tuchel has been handling this well. Sadio Mané, this is out of character from him, and we have to forgive each other when we do a mistake. He's been quite apologetic. Is that
and Tuchel spoke well. I thought he handled himself well in terms of how he dealt with that as well. But,
absolutely. But then it's all about winning football games. Okay. Bayern can, when people listen to this, Bayern could be out of 2 of 3 tournaments. They were knocked out by Freiburg in the cup. They're struggling in the Bundesliga. Everything can be solved through a miracle tonight in some hours when they play Manchester City. As we don't know that, I wouldn't say, but I think that we will see coming into the new season, Marcus, we'll see a changed Bayern Munich. We'll see how much changes there will be in key positions, but we also will see what kind of players Tuchel got to go in. And I will end, Marcus, with saying that they played, and we talked about that, and I will reference people to the other videos that is in the portfolio, our YouTube channel, also by the short videos, because we're doing quite good analysis of the situation in Bayern there. But it's quite interesting. They're saying they don't have a striker, and people, when they play Manchester City, they had Haaland, they had Alvarez, Manchester City, and Bayern Munich had none. And no, they haven't even given out the number 9, Marcus. This is a top club. The number 9 shirt is not used. And what we tend to forget is that Lewandowski was sold. It was not that they had to sell him, but they sold him. And Julian Nagelsmann and the rest of them said, it makes them more flexible. We'll play without the number 9. So we'll see. They need to go for a striker. The last rumors, if I'll take the hottest property, is that they would love to have Harry Kane, but they have the understanding, which I think is right. Harry Kane preferred to stay on the island, stay in England in the Premier League. Then you have Muani at Eintracht Frankfurt, seen as a guy that loves to score goals, but maybe not the typical Bayern striker because he needs a bit space and all that kind of thing. And then you have Rasmus Højlund, who plays for the Dane. He is 20 years of age. He's playing for Atalanta Bergamo. He seems like a hell of a player, and he will probably be on the move. And I will recommend people to YouTube him to find out how good he is. He's a great player, Marcus.
Only time will tell, and you'd think that Bayern have learned their lesson when they put pretty much all their eggs in one basket with Haaland last year, as was later revealed, even though they adamantly refused that they were in the race to begin with. So it just goes to show how muddled the transfer politics, transfer window is. But that, I'll let you continue on your journey from your little pit stop. We will have a Bayern game perhaps to analyze, a couple of them, and then we will follow the title race closely coming to the end of it. So thanks, Dad.
As we are speaking, I just want to say, as we were speaking around me, this is a life that people don't know. I am a German called for Raststätte. This is one of those tank stations that you with all kind of people, and then you which people are on these places in the middle of the day, because it's 1:30 as we are speaking. Of course, you have the truck drivers. Then left for me now is a mature girl, a woman with a Porsche that is German as well, Porsche 911. And then next to it, just to summarize, is that couple who are on their trip and they've been traveling for a while, so they've been doing stretches now outside the car just to make themselves ready for the next step. Marcus, I will tell you, the time when I go out of the car and doing stretches, don't tell me that I'm gone. Please tell me that. Auf Wiedersehen to all of you.
Auf Wiedersehen.